I worked in Tampa for 2 years. I loved covering the team. Tampa Bay, there's a lot of 5 or 6, 7 irrelevant franchises in the NFL on a yearly basis. Tampa Bay should not be. Cleveland, ownership, in and out of coaches, in and out of quarterbacks, in and out of GMs. Good God, since Baker Mayfield arrived. 3 coaches, interim coaches, numerous GMs. There's a reason they're bad. They're dysfunctional in ownership. Washington Redskins, there's a reason they're dysfunctional. The owner is a meddler. Then there's organizations like Cincinnati. They're cheap. They just don't have a lot of money. Then there's organizations like Jacksonville. There's just apathy. They're now playing games regularly in London, more than one this year. Tampa shouldn't be this bad. They've had great coaches. John Gruden, Sam Weish, Tony Dungy, Bruce Arians. They've had Hall of Fame players. They won a Super Bowl. They've got passionate fans. Stadium can be packed. They have great facilities. They should not be bundled up in this Cleveland, this kind of malaise of apathy and weak ownership. Their owners are not poor. I know the Glazer family. I love the kids. Didn't know the dad particularly well. But when I worked there for 2 years, the front office was smart. The players were good. The coaching was excellent. This was not Cleveland. This was not Washington. This is not Detroit. It's not cheap Cincinnati. What has held them back? Quarterback. Since 1976, since Tampa's been a franchise, their passer rating, last in the NFL, 73. Completion percentage, this is hard to get your arms around, last, 56%. Their quarterbacks have thrown 830 touchdowns and 852 picks. This is, you know how franchises say, we are just a quarterback away. Tampa is. They're last in everything. In quarterback. They've got a wealthy owner, passionate fans, smart people in the front office. They've had great coaches. They've won a Super Bowl. They've had great players. When I was a kid growing up, we didn't have a pro football team in Seattle. Then we got one in 1976, 77 season. Seattle got one. Jim Zorn, Sherman Smith, Steve Largent. It was an offensive team, couldn't stop a nosebleed. Tampa was the opposite. Tampa had the Selman brothers. They were great defensively. They couldn't score. If you'd have just been able to combine the two. So I've been following Tampa forever. They were the team that came in with my Seahawks. And then I went and worked with them and had a blast. It was well run, smart people. But they never could get the quarterback right. I was looking this morning. That's why Brady's going to fix this thing. Their first quarterback was Steve Spurrier. Way better coach than quarterback. Then they went to Randy Hedberg. Boy, those were the days. Doug Williams was solid, not spectacular. Then they had a bunch of Steve DeBergs, Jack Thompson, Vinny Testaverde for a few years. Back to Steve DeBerg, Trent Dilfer, my buddy. I covered those teams. Sean King, Brad Johnson, Brian Greasy, Chris Sims, Byron Leftwich. They had the Josh Freeman years, Jameis Winston. They don't have one great quarterback ever. The Super Bowl they won with Brad Johnson. His nickname, perhaps mean-spirited, was Captain Checkdown. They're the only franchise. They're it. Every other franchise has had a guy. One. Steve Young played for about an hour there. That doesn't count. So last year is so classic Tampa. They were 7-9. 6 of their 9 losses, touchdown or less, in the game late. In those 6 losses, 12 turnovers. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston had 30 picks last year. In the last 4 years, Tom Brady's had 29. So Jameis had more last year than Brady's had in almost half a decade. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the one franchise that can say, you know what, we're a quarterback away. And they have been, mostly for the last 30 years. And now they've got one. He's a leader. He's a winner. He is accurate. He doesn't make big mistakes. He's great at the line. They are the one franchise where I look at and go, good Lord, if they could just get a quarterback. They never have. You think Chicago, Miami have had their problems? You think Denver's had their problems post John Elway? They've had talented guys. They had Peyton Manning. God, Tebow even won there. Miami post Dan Marino. They've had some interesting players. Tannehill wasn't bad. Tannehill would arguably be as good as anybody Tampa's ever had. He's up there with Doug Williams. Better than Josh Freeman. His career's better than Trent Dilfer. He's a better player than Brad Johnson. So Brady's going to work. Are they going to win a ton of games? I don't know, but they got the weapons. Let me also say this. I work at Fox Sports. Best place I've ever worked, most fun I've ever had. This is, by the way, a weird 2-3 week stretch that's going to probably be a weird summer. But I was thinking yesterday with Tom Brady, it was a good day for Fox. For years and years, CBS made a lot of money putting Tom Brady on those late games. Tom Brady is now a Buccaneer. By the way, Tampa and Tom Brady next year face Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, the LA Rams, and Drew Brees twice. Those are all national TV games. Those are great watches. They'll be on Fox. Conversely, New England now, which CBS has leaned on, is an absolute snooze. They have no weapons and Jarrett Stidham, and they just lost 2 of their best 5 defensive players. How good are the Patriots going to be? I said yesterday, I'm not so sure. They haven't built up enough equity to tank. Do a Golden State. They don't have a contingency plan. They don't. They just let go of 2 top defensive players. Doesn't look like, from what I can tell, they've got anything planned. Why would they? Go 5-11, 4-12. Get rid of some players, free up cap space, rebuild, and go get a quarterback next year. But Tom Brady will win this divorce. And it may be, at least in the press, an amicable divorce. But he's going to win it for the first 2 years. Because he is inheriting Bruce Arians and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and a great tight end, functional running backs. He's going to win this puppy. His production is going to be outstanding. And New England's going to be a complete bore at quarterback. And they've got, I believe this morning, the worst weapons in the NFL. It is now a weapons league. So don't kid yourself on this. The Lakers were unwatchable the second Kobe retired. Cleveland twice. Fascinating to unwatchable twice. Golden State today. Unwatchable when the Stars left. San Francisco without Jimmy Garoppolo being healthy. Brutal. He's healthy. Can't take my eyes off him. Aaron Rodgers, every time he rolls up on that collarbone and misses a game, you can't watch the Packers play. The Colts without Andrew Luck. So the consumer, you control TV ratings. Therefore, you, the consumer, control the networks. Tom Brady's going to be all over the networks for at least a year against Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees twice, LA Rams, Patrick Mahomes. CBS this morning is figuring out ways not to put the Patriots on. So short term, Brady, for a year at least, is going to get a lot of love, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of attention. He'll be a topic on this show weekly. New England will not. Don't kid yourself. Fans are attracted to stars and stories. Brady is both. New England is neither. The winner in this divorce for a year, perhaps amicable, kind of, sort of, is Tom Brady. There's so many different ways to dissect this today. We've got a Cam Newton story. Michael Irvin saying, I know why DeAndre Hopkins left. One of the things that I think is really crazy is that when I worked in local news for years and years and years, this is the way it would work. In fact, I've seen this in media my entire life, is that let's say you have a boss and he's a yeller and he's a screamer and he's kind of crazy, but he's brilliant, and it works for a long time. And then the company's like, okay, he's wearing us out, we're firing him. The pendulum always swings too far the other way. Then you get sort of a quiet, laconic, chill to a fault boss that isn't engaged. is that this is the way business works. This pendulum swings back and forth and back and forth. It's the guy, you're in a relationship with somebody that's quiet, the librarian. You know what? I want to spice it up. And the next relationship is wild and late nights and it wears you out. And there's a reason you were attracted to the librarian. That I'm not sure there is anything more opposite than New England in the NFL than Tampa.